Get started here. I'd like to remind everyone, I'll do my best to let everyone speak their opinion if they want to. Let's try to keep things civil and, move forward. It'll be a little bit before we get to, the important stuff, but, we got a few things here we've got to take care of first, so. Item number 1 is to approve the agenda. Does anybody have a problem with the agenda? Item number 2, the consent agenda, approve the minutes of the May 7th, May 12th, May 26th meeting, and approve the ELA textbook adoption. Anybody have anything they want to say? Item number 3, Ms. Black. How far away are you making that happen?
That's for the current budget year, right? And are those funds gonna be for all of the county buses?
Anybody else? Item number 4, Mr. Nichols.
Okay. Thank you for letting us address you tonight. We have finally determined a date for senior trip. I know COVID has changed a whole lot of things. We're asking the board consideration on the trip date of June the 22nd through June the 27th. and Mr. Tenpenny and Mr. Burks have worked tirelessly on trying to plan a trip for these seniors, and, I'll kind of let him speak for just a moment on that, on, the agenda and how that has kind of changed from our original, dates.
I think you all have a copy of the revised itinerary. We have dropped from 82 students attending originally to 51 students. And just due to the numerous restrictions that were in place at Universal Studios at this time, we're not doing that portion of the trip. We're just going to St. Augustine for some extended days and do some more tours there. Fortunately, most places that we're touring are opening just for us at that time. They book time aside when it would just be our group there. As well, we've scheduled, usually we just go on one group outing, one group dinner together, and then the other nights we kind of separate to several different places. We book more group dinners together, so it's just our group together as much as possible, limiting our interactions with other folks. But if you've got any questions regarding the itinerary or anything else about the trip, I'll be glad to answer that as best I can.
Anybody have any questions, Mr. Tenpenny? Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5, Ms. Mullins.
Alright, hello. So I wanted to address you about the elementary and secondary school emergency relief fund. It is part of the educational federal funding under the CARES Act, which all of you have heard about. So federal funding is also effective for elementary and secondary school, secondary education. So this is a one-time funding. It is through the federal education funding. It is based, how the number was received, is based on 90% of our Title I funding. So the overall goals, of course, are health and safety for our students and academics. There's 6 focus areas, and I'll kind of brief you on those, and then I'm going to tell you kind of how we arrived at the spending plan you have in your packet. So the allowable focuses are purchasing education technology, providing summer and supplemental supports, planning for long-term closures, addressing the unique needs of special population, providing mental health supports, and then conducting other necessary activities. So what we did as a district, we comprised a team of 12 members. We had all our supervisors as well as 4 principals that volunteered. We met 3 times over this time period once the funds became available for us to apply for, and then we originally just brainstormed ideas. What does our district need for now and planning for the future? So once we had our brainstorm of ideas, then we narrowed it down, and then each member ranked their opinion of what was important for our needs. So what you have before you in your packet is those spending plan recommendations. Any questions per se? The next step, of course, will be for us to fill out the actual application. It's conducted through e-plan, and then we will receive feedback and the funding.
Anybody have any questions, Ms. Mullins?
Mr. Chairman, each of these expenditures were looked at by the committee. They're good committed, they're good expenditures. They will reduce our GP about $75,000. We will see $52,979.39 in regard to indirect costs. And any kind of grant we receive, and this is part of the CARES Act, is what this is. One-time federal funding because of the CARES Act, and $371,000 and $371,000 and $4.16. If you look at safe environment, part of that will, from the difference between $52,979.39 and $75,000 that we're anticipating out and utilizing in part of GP would be for cleaning supplies. So that line item has been reduced in the cleaning supplies on the CARES Act. So I would say that this is again non-recurring funding is what this is. And there might be more funding down the pipe depending on COVID-19, but as of right now, this is what Cannon County's portion is those, you may have saw on, the television, reports in regard to Metro getting, I don't know, maybe 90,000 laptops or something is what they were looking at. Millions and millions of dollars. But on average, we were getting $371,000.
Yeah, just kind of share for the audience, we are a completely safe environment, which would include, as Mr. Curtis had mentioned, cleaning supplies, whether it be thermometers, the hand thermometers, mask shields, gloves, that sort of thing. Technology, we are proposing to purchase Chromebooks, as well as a classroom management device, standing our outdoor wireless at each campus, so we can use the parking lots for if there is closure. Also a Zoom for education for 1 year. The online IXL for all students that will be K through 12, so we're getting elementary and high school. And then other things that the principals particularly wanting, copy paper, because we did print a ton of packets for students in the past and moving forward, a toner. And then, again, we do have future closures and technology support for teachers, just to assist them in doing online classes and that sort of thing. Again, this was a meeting of several different stakeholders, and then this is the plan.
Do we know when we'll receive the money?
So the application is actually due Monday, so by June 3rd, end of June, 1st of July. So take effect next school year, starting July. Thank you.
All right, number 6, Mr. Curtis, you want
The IDEA is a FY21 budget. This will include all future amendments and addenda. And this will be next year's special education budget. It's a good budget. Of course, we can't do anything basically except approve that budget and not do anything to those figures regarding the funding that we see from the federal government in regard to that. And Title I. So we've got both of those together. This morning, you don't want to say anything else on that. Except this budget has been prepared and ready to go. And that will include all future amendments and amendments. And that's the catch-all there for the federal side.
Actually, I can speak as far as my side, that is our Title I. That is our Title I teachers, based on that line. Anything that has to do with, we have a Title I teacher at every elementary school. We have EAs at the federal supports at our elementary schools. We also do teacher leaders. That way they're in their student contract time. That way each school and teachers are supported through that. That would include any travel through the federal, if we are going to any trainings or that sort of thing, that would include that. It does include professional development that affects all of our teachers and all of our schools. And then there is a part that is safe and healthy schools. And so Ms. Bonnie and I work together as far as providing Go Doodle, which is something that can be used in the classroom as well as at home for physical activity. And then we do help with the walking club at each elementary school, as well as professional development, including PE teachers, nurses, and counselors, and that sort of thing. So all of those things are provided under the SF portion of the federal. And of course, Ms. James is the IDEA, the special population. It's all under federal, so
I'm actually here on Zoom. I don't know if you can hear me, but in the IDEA, that also covers our contract services for occupational therapy, physical therapy, sometimes our vision therapists that we have to contract out. In the past, we've had to contract speech therapists, but we were able to procure a speech therapist for next year, so hopefully we'll not have to contract that out. All of our special ed equipment that our students need, their instructional supplies, all of their computer equipment that they need, we purchase all of that through the IDEA fund, and that includes professional development, travel, and lodge for the teachers, and everything that comes with that. The IDEA covers all of that. There's a lot more there that we could go into detail, but that kind of covers the gist of it. Any questions?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, item number 7, safety report, Ms. Mason, I know you're limited on what you can say here, so.
Oh, I'm never limited. All right, our updates for this month, we have finished all our compliances, for the school year. We're now building compliances for next year. I did look at a program, that we could use. It was an online program, but I feel like it's costly. And I've been building these programs for free for several years, and I will just continue to do so to save us money in that area. We finished our security assessments. I want to thank the SRO officers and Mr. Courtney Nichols that always helps with that. We did those at all 7 schools. I'm compiling those results. I'm waiting for the State Department to give me the go-ahead to submit those. However, there will be some COVID questions that they will send, and I can't do anything with those until they send the questions. We have collected all the fire drill logs, so we have all the documents ready to upload. And all of those documents have to be uploaded before we can write our security grant for the coming year. It looks like it should be around $46,000 again, and they get that, figure from the BEP formula. And we're waiting for, the state legislative session again, so that we will know the exact total of that amount. But it looks like communication is still, the area that we will address, which is radios on buses, so that we'll have communications with our bus drivers. And then we'll, we have, seen some other needs that I cannot speak in an open forum, since it's still saying, but I will update you later. I have been working with the health department to get updates on the COVID situation. And, Navigate again will be our security tool, and that again has not opened yet due to updating with COVID questions. And we have reached out to our local EMA, Roy Sullivan. He's helped us tremendously in getting procurement of items that we need. I know he's helped Ms. Jennifer Isdale with our meal distribution sites and getting those items. And we are actively working with him and reaching out to see if there are safety supplies that he can help us secure. If we get the CARES Act money and use that to buy cleaning supplies, PPE equipment for our nurses, thermometers, all those things, it may be difficult for us to reach out and buy through a site, you know, that we normally buy from, because of the amount that's going to be needed throughout the state and throughout the United States. And also, we received this wonderful document on reopening schools in the state of Tennessee. And so I've gotten through 10 pages of it. And that's all I can tell you about it right now, that it's mind-boggling. I'll just say that. But we're gonna proceed and do our best, and hopefully we'll be opening schools in August.
Thanks, speaking of that, Mr. Chairman, just for a second, Ms. Bonner. We received that document, Friday night at 8:55 p.m. And we have been utilizing, and what we're looking at is getting the budget finished. As soon as the budget is approved, then we'll move forward to have a task force regarding opening of schools. Ms. Bonner will be leading that, and we'll be looking forward to doing reports on how we adapt that 40-page document to Gaines County schools. A lot involved in opening schools in a COVID environment. And we've got some great individuals who've been helping on that, task force principals, and all principals and all supervisors, as well as community members. So we would like to get that moving as rapidly as we can. Once the budget is settled, then we'll move forward to that next. It seems like we go from one deal to another deal to another deal. One part of the COVID crisis to the other. So we're adapting as quickly as possible to our students safe. That's our number one priority, is the safety of our students.
Anybody have anything else? All right, item number 8, 2021 general purpose budget consideration. We'll take just a minute here. I want you people to know that I have spent hours talking to commissioners, talking to Mr. Ronnie Mahaffey, talking to Corey Lindenborg, I've talked to Brent Bush. I've spent 3 years, a lot of my time discussing the very issue that we're talking about tonight, because I saw it coming. It's not gonna go away for a little while. The BDP funding funds each and every student in this county. It does not fund our buildings. The state does not care how many buildings we have. They just fund each kid, and they know for an absolute fact that we can do that in 3 buildings or less. I cannot help that situation. Over the years in the county, I did some research. I spent 2 days at the courthouse, researching. And I used several years when we built buildings. At one point in time, in 1956, when we built Woodland, the school system received $1.60 of the tax rate, and that was 80% of the tax rate in Canyon County. The county received 40. There's several years over here. I have copies of it if some of you would like to see that. In 1992, I believe the DEP started funding. Go ahead. We were still receiving 60% of the tax rate. Today, in 2020, we are at 68.5 cents. It's 27.9% of the Canyon County tax rate. I can no longer afford to keep everything the way it is. Some people have stated you guys have misused your reserves. Well, if keeping 7 schools running, and keeping the 42 extra teachers that we have, that the BEP doesn't recommend is wasting our reserves, then yes, we are guilty of that. And we have fought tremendously to keep you where you are and keep everything the way it was. I hate to inform you guys of this, but at the current situation and the current taxes that we receive from both the state and the county, that's no longer going to be possible. Closing a school is an option. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's an option. Letting go of teachers is an option, but it's a lot. If we don't close the school, then more teachers are gonna have to take those cuts everywhere in the district. You understand that you're affecting every single child in every school when you do that. All right, I think I've stated my opening comments. I think Mr. Attorney has something that he would like to say.
I'm gonna make this as great as I can. Spent a lot of time thinking about this, also going over numbers and crunching and not over the community. And I know there's been a lot of people who've reached out to me, and if I haven't got back to you, I apologize, because I'm coming out the direction, and I'm trying to be as efficient as I can. Again, if nobody knows me, I'm Travis Turney, I'm vice chair of the board. Again, what I'm going to say is solely the feelings of myself as an individual board member, and no way reflects the feelings of the board as a whole. Each board member has perspective may say their feelings and matters. First and foremost, I'd like to say that during this discussion, the children and the education they receive is a priority of how I make my decisions. I will not blindly put a dollar figure on a child in this school system. Our children are more than just a number or a dollar figure. We are experiencing what we are experiencing today. All they're all standing on one matter: it's money. I understand it takes money to operate. We have to consider spending wisely and using it where it most benefits our schools. I feel like I've tried to do that. Some tough decisions have to be made. If you desire services, it costs money. Sometimes it requires spending when we don't want to. The render services and get the most benefit from them, we have to pay. Bottom line is, with the money that we have been provided by the county commission and the state, I do not see how it's possible to continue to sustain our current operations. We have continually asked for the money needed to sustain the past 2 years and have fallen short. We have been forced to allocate money from reserves to keep from layoffs and shuttering of schools. This account is running dry. We have been calling for help, however, I have no power to allocate additional funds. I had a glimpse of hope that the commission would provide the money needed to discuss the budget with us and the vertical catastrophe that we are facing today. Some of them tried to do so. Our problem is we can't get everyone on board. Ask yourself this question: do you want your children educated with the bare minimum? Well, that's what we're getting to work with, is the bare minimum. There have been some commission members who have reached out to us, had discussions with us in these meetings. I appreciate that. I also appreciate Commissioner Asher for listening to our concerns in the last budget meeting, and she voted against the resolution. There have been others who have not been to a single one of our budget meetings, never asked any questions, and also several who have never spoken a word to me. This is unacceptable, especially considering the fact that they appropriate the amount of money that we as a board have to operate on. How can one make an educated decision on the amount of money that we are to receive that they have not discussed the budget with us as frequent leaders? I will make this one subject of debate very clear. I spoke out last year when questions raised by Commissioner Happy in the courthouse in regards to school being eliminated. I made it very clear to him at the time that I would not vote to close school, and I'm going to stand by that statement today. I even posted a public statement in regards to this issue, which was February of 2019. And I even posted, Commissioner Floyd has stated that we have a so-called slush fund, which was an absolute bogus and uneducated statement. Commissioner Davenport has supported this fact, and that claim is absolutely false. Commissioner Floyd has been formally asked to be a representative for the commission to work with the school. So far, that has been met with, I'll need to ask the comptroller. I'm waiting for her final response on that. I welcome her to come to our meetings. To this day, I've never met her, nor have seen her at any of our budget meetings. The bottom line is, I will not vote to close any of our schools, period. It seems the contention here is that some kind of commission members do not want to raise property tax. That's understood to a point. I'm a property owner and a taxpayer. I've also spent many years in government in this county in many capacities. I understand that none of us are excited about paying additional taxes. However, I will tell you this: I will gladly pay additional taxes in order to keep our schools open and avoid laying off teachers. Many citizens rejected the idea and voted down a few years back the sales tax increase. I voted in favor, and I will add to this: this would add to revenue and remove some burden from property owners. I cannot change what happened there. If we fail to address increases in other areas, then it leaves a burden on property owners. That's not something I'm happy to say, it's just reality. I do not see any educational advantage to our children to lay off multiple teachers, stop programs, and close schools on the simple fact that we cannot come to grips with raising taxes. I've spoken with many administrators in the district who are willing to cut some of our services. They have deemed that they can do that with the least effective to students. However, those cuts only make up a very small amount of what is needed to sustain our current operations. We are faced with two choices. Either keep our tax rate the same and face substantial layoffs and closures, or raise rates and continue operations. I encourage anybody to look at this tax rate comparison. There's a problem here. We're in a continual decline over the years past. There's no debating that. And so it's a wonder that we've not already come to this point. Let's consider the impact that this could have on our students. Let's consider the impact this could have on employees who lose their job, their livelihood. I'm a citizen and taxpayer. I'm willing to pay to prevent that from happening. We are in a crisis. We're in a double crisis, not only budget-wise, but also with the virus and its impact on our operations. At this point, just like what Ms. Patterson was saying, there are a lot of unknowns on COVID-19 restrictions and social distancing guidelines that will come down the pike in the upcoming school year. With the lack of funding on hand, it's only compounds the problem for us as a school district. There are a lot of unknowns ahead. I'm only one individual, and I'm one vote. I encourage you to speak with all of us, members of your community, and members of the county commission. I love this school system and community. I'm doing the best job I can, and unfortunately, tonight, I'm not going to have to answer all your questions. But that's all I have to say.
Anybody else? Mr. Daniel?
I just want to say that we've done all that. We push this thing hard as we can. I was asked that the other day with Brendan Frederickley. I think we pushed the school system to a pot. It's been positive for the last several years. I apologize for nothing I voted for. I've tried to push forward, that's always been my goal, push. These men, Mr. Curtis, David, Mr. Turney, Mr. Elrod, they've all worked hard to push this thing forward. We're at a fork of the road right here. May not be pretty, may be some hurt feelings, and might not work out like everybody wants it. But we've tried to push as far as we can, and without any help, we're at a fork of the road.
Mr. Elrod? Trent? No? Nate?
I have a couple things, Mr. Chairman, questions over the options we've got, but, to reiterate some of what's already been said, when I campaigned in 2012, there was one resounding message that I heard, and that was, we want our schools to remain open. So that was something that I stood by, every year when the budget came. When I campaigned again in 2016, I heard that very same message, that we want our schools open, all of our schools open. We are at a crossroads. I love my school, and I cannot sit here and say that one school is better than the other. We joke about it, but we have 6 great elementary schools and a great high school. This is great information, and it just validates that the commission in the past has not worked with us, and we've made a lot of cuts. However, I've crunched numbers, and when we get into it, I think I have something that might work. I don't know, but I've heard in the last several weeks that we're moving backwards, and that's not what I want for our children. And so, with that being said, closing school is still not an option. We don't have the money ourselves to fund any building program, and the commission is not in a position, from the sounds of it, can't speak for them, but they won't go into depth with the county. So we have to take what we have and work with it. But as I told everybody that I talked to, and I've tried to get back to everybody, some I have not, because there's a lot of people, but guys, we need you to talk to your commissioners and get them to sit down and listen, because all of them have not been here. We might can make it one more year with what we have. We're gonna have to have a property tax increase. We're gonna have to shop local, and I told everybody that's contacted me, we need you to shop local now. We don't get much of that, but we need it. When that sales tax referendum was voted down, that was the worst thing that hurt our school system. We would not be in this problem if that had not been voted down. Property taxes going up. Hey, I don't have any extra money myself, but if that's what it takes and that's what people still want, then that's what we gotta do. The commissioners have got to hear that, because we can only do so much. And as Mr. Turner said, all of them don't care. I've been on the board almost 8 years, and I've seen Corey Davenport, and I've seen Mr. Mahaffey, and maybe a few others, and that's sad. So, thankfully this is a workshop, and I want to hear more input, more reasonable solutions. But we are at a crossroads, and the decision has got to be made jointly with the commissioners and as citizens and as a Board of Education. Are we going to pay more property taxes? Are we going to pay more sales tax to keep what we got? Or are we going to look at, and I'm basing this also the DeKalb County figures that Mr. Curtis provided us, and I may still be wrong, they are looking at a $30 to $40 million building program. So we have to ask ourselves, is that the direction we want to go, or do we want to keep maintaining 50-year-old buildings? And I love my school, and it was one of the ones built in the 50s. So, and Liberty Grammar's now 20 years old. And that's hard to realize that it's 20 years old, so guess what? It's next in line to be maintained. So that's just food for thought for everybody. As we get into some discussions about the options that we've been presented, you know, I want to get some clarification on that, but I do appreciate everybody in attendance and speaking out, but we take it one step further to the commissioners and let them know if you're willing to pay them, and if you're not, then as I told everybody, please bring me some ideas that we can do. And, you know, we're all looking, we all five, I mean, we've all been looking at this, and we need ideas, we need suggestions, and we're not there yet. So, with that, I'll pause for now, Jim.
All right, I would like to, 1 second, I've spent 4 hours talking to people, and I think that I have, I'm not 100% sure, got a pretty close relationship with Mr. Ronnie Mack. And, Mr. Ronnie Mack, he throws things at me that I wouldn't expect him to. He does a world of research, and he's pretty sharp, but he has informed me time and time again that we have approximately 42 too many teachers. And he is correct, according to the DEP. Now, we have that many, and by the way, Camden County is directly responsible for paying those teachers. Directly, that they're not funded by the DEP whatsoever. Now, the reason we have 42 too many teachers is because we have 7 school buildings. And I will be honest with you, those 7 school buildings are underfunded right now. They need more help. So even though we have 42 people, too many according to the DEP, we're still underfunded. Now, Nathan touched on this just a little bit. I can bring those costs down. But that requires consolidation. Now, I do not like being forced into closing a school. I will tell every single person here that. My goal when I came in here was hopefully to see a large new building going up, a grammar school going up, so that we could close all of these older buildings and put all of these kids and not pick on one community like Short Mountain, like Alton Town, like Eastside, and put them in that building. No, the landowners cannot afford that. But we have a will tax set up for school debt funding. Is it possible to do that? I think it's possible. Do we want to do that? I don't know. That's up to you guys. But maintaining 7 school buildings is going to be a strain on a county this size that is tremendous. And they will always be underfunded because we cannot, the landowner cannot afford to do that. He simply can't, and it's not fair to him or anyone else. Can we build a new building to get closer to those DEP numbers? Yeah, I think we can. Do we want to? I don't know. That's up to you guys. Now, we've got a lot of stuff that we've looked at here, and we've got some options. And I absolutely hate that we're at this point. But we have fought and tried to keep this from happening. I mean, I'm looking at library positions. I'm looking at art positions. I'm looking at maybe possibly having to close the school. The last numbers I saw from Douglas Jennings informed me that quite possibly $550,000 more next year for teacher raises and benefits. That's state mandated for us to have to pay. If we squeak by this year, by not closing the school, where am I going to get that other $500,000? How am I going to get that other $500,000? I don't see how. Mr. Curtis?
You still want to know, Mr. Chairman, but, you know, looking at historically where we have been where we were. And, can't say, I had a discussion about this today. This is, it really consumed the members board, and members board in the last, virtually the last, since COVID hit in mid-March. And our last day of school was March the 13th. And then we started looking at these figures and looking at these figures, and we understood what was done in the past, and we were receiving the same amount of 0.685 in 19, and in 20, we knew we were going into fund balance, we were going into our reserves. And the difficulty is that things continue, even if you get the same amount, things go up. Salaries go up, expenses go up. And when you do, we have the gap there. And that's what we're talking about now, till we are nearly to the point where there's not any fund balance. We're already told the comptroller in regarding cash flow. And Douglas can tell you a lot more about that than I can. But in looking at cash flow, that we are now having to sign off, myself and Mr. Jennings are signing off every month for a statement going over to that's going to the comptroller saying, we are aware we're going into fund balance. And we are. We curtail expenses, and we'll continue to curtail expenses. I've looked over this, I stared at it, and it goes to get my sleep at times, where this is just on my mind or on my heart, and I think people know that schools have a significance in my life. 34 years in this county, serving all 34 in this school system. I think of living in Short Mountain community for 10 years, pastoring church there, and then working and going on and doing what I need to do as director, and now as director of schools. But when we look at that and we look at the figures, we're basically $1.1 million in the red. So what do we do to get that back? Because we've utilized non-recurring funds or used up our non-recurring funds, and we've used those non-recurring funds for recurring things. And that's the unpardonable sin in finance that we do. But we've done that because it's getting us through, getting us by. And now we go to the point where we need additional funding. I've talked and I'm trying to talk to, I've been in constant communication with our state representatives, State Representative Clark Boyd, as well as State Senator Mark Pody, about getting some help from the state. Petition the governor, been postponed 4 different times with the governor. And COVID hit, they're trying to get to the governor since January. They're saying this is the problem we have as a director of schools in a financially challenged county. And I look at some of the stats that we're not on the distress list. We didn't get one of the best grants because we weren't told distress. I make a difference with that. Y'all heard me talk about this many times. But what I would say to you tonight, to every single one of us tonight, is take a long, hard look, just like what we have at these figures that keep staring us in the face. And I've gone through, and I will say something I said in the budget committee just the other day, and that is every line item has a story. Every line item has a face. Every line item has a story and a livelihood connected to that. And so we cut, and we turn around and we have to go, the next phase is to go into instruction. And there we go into people's lives. And so that's where it hurts. And that's where the real rubber meets the road is when I look at these numbers, they're not just numbers for people. And a person that I've known many years. And these are educators that work hard to fulfill our mission. I go back to mission and vision, particularly at times like this, I go back to mission, meaning what is our mission? To prepare all of our students for their future. And how do we do that? Through our vision, engaging excellence every single day. And I've got to go back into the goals, because the goals regulated what we were really doing during COVID-19. And that is to provide a safe learning environment for every one of our kids. And that's what we've got to do. And that's our real issue here as we face not only, I call it a double whammy. And what I mean by that, perfect storm is two kinds of them. It's a double whammy where we've gotten the budget crisis, and then we've also additionally got COVID-19 that hit. And so there's a lot of uncertainty. And to meet uncertainty, I need it with two things. With prayer and fasting. And asking the Lord to help us in any way we can looking at this. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have, but notice that, you know, these are blood, sweat, and tears here in this budget.
I want to say I do appreciate Mr. Patton and, always stepping down, always
Brandon is also here. And also,
women, I'm always agreeing everything, but at least we control the call that we have, you know, so I'm good with that. We can agree, disagree, but I just, like I said, I encourage, one of my biggest pains is whenever the ones that don't show up, and don't ask some questions, but want sidelines. That's one of my biggest pains, and I can't stand that. You know? So I do appreciate seeing you guys here tonight. So thank you.
The rest of the board has looked over the three options that have been presented. We'll get into a little more detail in a minute. I've got a mark teacher that wanted to discuss her position and other positions.
Do I need to use this? Okay, I'm Candace. Whoops. Okay.
Mr. Coach, you may assist them, please.
I'm Candace Levens. I'm the art teacher here at Woodbury Grammar School with Miss Emily Hancock. And this is Darlene Pingrass from Woodland and Wilma Arbaugh, who's from Short Mountain in the East Side. And we received a letter from a professor at Middle Tennessee today, and you got it in your packet, and I've already went ahead and sent you the slide presentation so that you would have that at your email convenience. But we just want to go over the little bullet pointed. Our nation's Every Student Succeeds Act is Public Law 114-95, enacted by Congress, supports the arts. The law recognizes the arts as part of the school children's well-rounded education, as well as the Tennessee Code annotated 49-6-1025 also identifies the importance of the visual arts in music education. It reads, the course of instruction in all public schools for kindergarten through grade 8 shall include art and music education to help each student foster creative thinking, spatial learning, discipline, craftsmanship, and the intrinsic rewards of hard work. And between all of us art teachers, we see about 1,200 students in the county. And with a lot of our students, they don't do sports and stuff like that. So where they shine and, you know, succeed is in the art room. And so they get a lot of value through that and encouragement. And did you want to speak to the BEP?
Yes, if we can go forward to the BEP slide. This was actually sent out to all the school board members, so that way you have time, because I know you don't want everything through it, we give you time to actually look at it. So we're gonna fast forward to the actual BEP money. That seems to be what we talk about a lot. You can go ahead and I think it's the next. Keep going.
It's the 14th slide.
Okay, it's right here, it's the BEP money, and, I talked to Mr., I think his name is with the State Commission. Let me get this up here. Bear with me.
While she's doing that, Miss Darlene turned around and went ahead and started a petition. We've got close to 800 signatures from people all over the United States and Cannon County.
I spoke with Mr. Nathan James, Director of the Adult Legislative Affairs, and he actually explained to me, and I talked to the comptroller, because you guys deal with numbers, and we're art teachers, we deal with art, flowers and pretty things. But the BEP for Cannon County, I know you guys can't see, but it is in that slide that you guys received. Cannon County K through 6, we are actually funded, which means for our children to have a basic education, according to the state of Tennessee, they fund us for K through 6 with our numbers were entered in, Cannon County numbers were entered in. Kindergarten through 6th grade, we are 1.85 art teachers, and kindergarten through 6th grade, we are 1.85 music teachers. So that is what we're funded for, and I know we have already lost music, at no fault of anyone, I'm not to blame anyone. I'm just here as a voice for the children, and it would be horrible if we completely cut the art program out, because we are funded, and you could keep teachers and let them travel, but the BEP, it's there. We are funded K through 6 at 1.89, excuse me, for art and 1.89 for music. So that's kind of how the BEP goes that I looked up.
And, in the little proposal sheet that, we put up, Ms. Wilma Arbaugh has an extra endorsement to where she could move into a classroom. And then Darlene and myself would be we could travel between the, grammar schools. And then, Ms. Caroline Bartlett is at the high school. So, if that would.
We also have the BEP calculator here, I'll pull that up, and that's accessible to anyone like for Cannon County. We're on there, for our state share and our required local match, and we can go forward here. That's our support in your packet. We have a lot of support for the arts, a lot of partnerships.
To the video.
That's our petition, that's live, you can go on and see that. I think we're at 800 signatures now. And a lot of those are Cannon County, and we gave that to the chairman, so that's available too, and we can go forward. We say it all the time, we're the voice for our children. I'm gonna read this, we got a little short clip for you, and we're done finished. Thank you for letting me speak. Not only does art provide an outlet for creative individuality, it helps learners develop problem-solving skills. Art is an effective discipline to manage behaviors, process feelings, reduce stress and anxiety, and increase self-esteem. For some, it gives them a place to belong and be successful. All of which is needed, especially during this time of high stress and mental uncertainty. Studies show that certain art stimulates the release of dopamine. The chemical is released when we do something pleasurable, and it basically makes us feel happier. This is evident by the increase of people buying art supplies, being creative during this time of instability. Art makes people optimistic about their future. Many of our children's only art experience is in our classroom. That's all they get. Art is a constant and steady fixture in their life. Do not allow this support to be taken from them. Do not let this be their future. Losing the arts in our school will be devastating to them. Our children do not have a choice, but you're the voice and you represent them. I know you're doing the best you can. Think about this before you cut our art program. Our children have already experienced the loss of music in our school system. Please not art too. Got a little clip for you, and we're finished. We're gonna fast forward to save you all that.
Ever since I've been a little kid, art has been the one thing that has always calmed me down, has always made my day better. And a school without art is like not having school at all. It's like a shell. There's nothing really expression and like how I can get certain feelings across that I've never been able to express in any
It helps me express myself without talking, but using my hands and be able to speak without talking.
Well, for me, it's the most fun part of school, right? Oh, yeah, we're going to art classes instead of going to math.
Art at school for me is a chance to relax and create things that you don't get to in other classes. English and writing is another rare opportunity to sort of branch out and do things, but all the other classes in school, gym and math and science, you just sort of do your coursework and you don't get to actually express yourself at all.
For my life, I've been drawing ever since I could hold a crayon, and just since then, I've loved it.
In December of 2005, I was diagnosed with a chronic illness, and art for me was a great way to express myself and get emotions out of my head to let other people know how I was feeling. And without art, it would have just been bottled up inside of me, and that would have been miserable. Art is just about one of the best parts of school, especially in my school. It's a great way to express yourself and to show your feelings. A lot of kids are for themselves.
Art is important to me because I'm not an athlete. I'm definitely not a bookworm, but I would like to think I'm an artist in my own way.
Art gives me a chance to show my individuality, and not just that, but show what's in my mind and give what I feel to other people. We make this world a place that's so happy to live in, and just
It's a way for me to release stress while still being creative and having fun. And I think that's part of what learning is about, is enjoying what you're doing. And I enjoy art more than
Especially because I have learning disabilities, and this is where I really excel in my mind. It just helps me in every different part of my education, every course that I take, just art helps me.
Lately, schools have been stressing only key classes that are state tested, like English and writing, and you have to be proficient, which is my least favorite word, because it doesn't really mean anything. It just means that you can pass the test. It doesn't mean that you're particularly intelligent or that you're capable of going out into the actual world. It just means you know how to fill in bubbles correctly.
So like if I have something stuck in my mind, I can easily just draw it out to know what it is or not.
Also, the point at the bottom is, we are also starting to currently look for grants, maybe to help fund with the art supplies and possibly fund the teachers. So we've started that. Do y'all have any other questions?
Thank you for letting us speak. You're very welcome. Okay. Do I have a representative from the school district that would like to speak? Anybody? Go on. Now, I want you to realize, when you're talking, you're not representing a single school, because if something doesn't change next year, we're gonna be looking at another school, possibly your school again, if we can complete through, okay? We're not talking about a community, we're talking about all the communities.
Well, I mean, I can't speak to all communities, I can only speak to my community.
Okay, come up and get the mic, so.
Do I need to sit back there?
No. I'm just telling you, if something doesn't change in a couple of years, or maybe next year, it may be another school that we're talking about, so.
And,
Tell us how you feel.
okay, I feel that, shutting a school is not the best decision. So you're going to, take kids in a situation where you're already supposed to be socially distancing and cut down Short Mountain and shove them where? You're gonna shove them into East Side, and East Side handle all of Short Mountain's kids, and then you say you wanna disperse some to Auburn Town. I mean, that's not logical. I mean, you're still gonna have teachers. If you take all of Short Mountain and put them in the East Side, you've only got 3 classes, from what I understand, that you can combine. And you're still gonna have split classes. So you're still gonna have the teachers. And why is it always Short Mountain? We're not the smallest school, we're not the oldest school, but it seems like Short Mountain is always the school that gets picked. And you say it's because, I said, what about East Side? I don't think any school should be closed, but why not East Side? You could disperse their students. And, you tell me, well, it's because, East Side has a lot of tenured teachers that you would have to put somewhere. Well, that's not our kids' fault. It's not our kids' fault.
I don't think, you say that, how did you put it, that you will have to, make cuts to all of the kids in the county, or make cuts just to our kids in Short Mountain? Well, our kids in Short Mountain are just as important as every kid in this county. So why should we have to suffer? Why? And, okay, is the central office, I mean, are they taking any, what sacrifices is the central office making?
We're cutting instructional coaches, that's 3 positions at the central office that are gone. 2 instructional coaches plus the RTI. So, yes, ma'am.
And those are 3, I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, those are 3 tenured teachers that are gonna be able to get the back in the classroom. So what else? Is there not anything else that can be cut?
Right now, our central office is doing multiple hats. Every single individual at central office has multiple responsibilities. I understand that there's argument about being top-heavy or whatever, but not in this case. We look at other counties, there are people over transportation, example, Lisa Black right behind me. She is doing 3 different jobs that she's doing right now. Nobody around us does that. Same thing with any of our coordinators, any of our supervisors are doing it. On Patterson, right behind me. She's doing 4 or 5 different jobs that she does for other systems. It's done by 1 or 2. Kathy Mullins is doing, just spoke, she's over federal programs, plus she's over pre-K. Every single person in the central office does more than just about any other system around us. So we're about as bare bones as you can get at the central office and administrators. We're cutting, one of these is cutting an assistant principal. At one student that was just added last year. You're looking at no LOEs this year, and so we're looking at the performance portion of the LOE being cut. So central office, that is a misnomer in what we have done. Already cuts the central office.
So how are you gonna take all of our kids at Short Mountain, where are you gonna put?
This is not a definite, you know that.
I do know that, but hypothetically, if Short Mountain closes, where will you put our?
Can you tell us why you chose Short Mountain?
I can explain some of that.
We'd like to figure it out right ahead.
Short Mountain is centrally located between 2 other schools. Short Mountain, if,
Eastside's also 22 others, 3 other schools.
Eastside has all tenured teachers except for 1, is that correct, Ms. Connie?
Yeah, because of the schools they can teach at.
That is true. You're basically, if we shut Short Mountain down, you're gonna remove all the teachers at Short Mountain except for 3 and replace them with Eastside teachers.
Yeah, but y'all get money for each child that attends Cannon County School, correct?
We did.
Okay, so if y'all do shut down Short Mountain School and say the majority of Short Mountain parents decide to homeschool their children, that's money that the county loses.
That's correct.
And there are plenty of parents ready to take on that challenge. In my 32 years in Cannon County, in the Short Mountain area, anytime it's come up for y'all to have to cut a budget, it is Short Mountain that has to suffer. It is always Short Mountain, or the art programs, or the music programs. But see, you don't ever hear about cutting funding where athletics are involved, and I'm all for athletics, I'm all for football, I'm all for basketball. I didn't play myself, I was an art freak. You know, but there are voices in this entire county that do not speak out through excelling on a basketball field, or on a football field, or basketball court, or a football field. They excel in the arts. Then there's an issue, and a big issue in schools with bullying. I know, I attended Cannon County schools my entire school career. I was bullied all through school. I had a few teachers that stuck up for me. I had a few teachers that just, brushed me to the side. We had a few teachers that still brush kids to the side. And then you want to take and bunch a smaller school in with another smaller school. Therefore, we're gonna have more bullying. You know what happens when bullying gets to be a bigger issue? You get more suicides. You lose more children. You take away their arts, you take away their voices, you get more suicides. So is this really an issue where we're willing to actually potentially risk a child's life over a money issue that I'm sure we can figure out another way to work around? I know the parents in Short Mountain School, we fundraise every year. We need one of my hardcore fundraisers, and there are plenty more of us. And you know, this right here, light fire under everybody in the Short Mountain community, especially since it seems to be our school on the chopping block this year. And I guarantee that if the Short Mountain community comes together, we can make things happen as we have in the past. And all schools need to get that same fire under them, so that the communities themselves can support and run our schools. As far as paying someone to come in and mow Short Mountain's yard, I have 2 riding mowers I can use. I'll sign a waiver. I won't help the school, the county responsible if I get hurt. I'll mow. My husband will mow. My dad, my brother. Well, I'll take care of Short Mountain's grounds. My grandma, she was the janitor at the high school, Miss Ruth Murphy, for years. And I know that she would be out there helping to repair stuff even in her 70s. That woman still does sheetrock and everything. We know how to do stuff. We know how to upkeep our buildings. But we have got to be allowed that privilege to upkeep our buildings, to keep our schools, and to keep our children in Short Mountain. I will spend hours at that school if I have to, doing whatever I can to fix whatever I have to. And y'all can make me papers to sign saying that I won't hold responsible if I get hurt while doing work there. I'll sign them. But we need to find a way to maintain and keep all 7 of our schools going. Because we don't need to bunch our schools at Canyon County. This is one of the things I feel sets us apart. Because we have smaller groups in these schools, which means these teachers can focus more on a classroom of 14 to 15 students. Whereas you want to group 30, 35, 40 kids in a classroom. I have a son also that's autistic. Say, I want him in a big classroom whenever he gets up over and gets to go into a normal classroom. No, because he needs that separate assistance where he can set aside with a teacher to be working with. But nobody seems to be talking about what us parents can do. It all comes down to that bottom number, that dollar amount. And I know Travis said that, you know, he's not going to put a number on people, and I appreciate that. But I think y'all need to allow the parents to step in and do something, because we can. And I mean, there's a lot of Short Mountain people here with me. Y'all would be willing to help out at the school too, if we could, right? Y'all want to say Short Mountain, don't y'all?
As far as you said that every student was funded, but the school itself is not funded. I'm a parent, I'm also a substitute. I was never informed, even as a kid growing up, 90% of our parents don't know that that school building is not funded. Send out a letter to the parents and let them know exactly what is being funded. We're paying for our students, but
there is not.
What's gonna keep us from getting the same predicament 3 years down the road?
We have to have a property tax increase. It's got to happen. I own property in this county. I own 2 properties, and I'm prepared to pay. I don't care. I mean, whatever it takes to resolve this, it's got to be done. But the citizens of this community have to band together. It has to happen. If it doesn't, if it doesn't happen, I'm gonna tell you, although I won't be the one to vote for it, there will be a school or student that will be gone. And there will be consolidation, there will be teachers that will be fired. That's what's going to happen. I don't want that blood on my hands. I don't. I'm in a terrible position here. That this, matter of fact, I was so upset I couldn't even eat this afternoon before I came. I mean, I literally don't want to be sitting here on my talking about this, but it's got to happen. And we have to open our eyes, just like the sales tax. I vote for the sales tax, but some people were uninformed. I'm not criticizing people, but that could have helped offset this. But now, unfortunately, that's gone. That's neither here nor there. The referendum's gone. Now it's up to the property. I hate to say that, but that's a crossroads.
Something that happened.
Raise taxes for the old school.
That's what we're looking at. Yes, ma'am.
The percentage is already.
That's not up to the school board, guys. That's
Okay,
not up to the
but
school.
if the taxes did get raised, would it be guaranteed that money that it is raised, that money could take us to school? It needs to be, that the taxes were raised.
Let me say something real quick. The sales tax was voted down. Now, I don't know of a single person in this room that doesn't go to another county and buy something. They all do it, we all do it. When you do that, you're supporting another county's school system at a higher tax rate. Why we voted that down, I have no idea, but it did happen. It happens every time, but that's not up to us. Mr. Davenport?
We'll start with the sales tax. The sales tax can be put back on the ballot for no different, that's what we want. And that's as simple as passing a resolution that the commission meeting, put it on the November ballot, and everybody can go back to it. So when they vote for presidential election, you can vote whether or not you want to raise the sales tax. I think it's any. I think that's the maximum we can do it. It's 9 3/4.
9.75.
9.75, and I think we're 8.75.
So it won't
So
be
they
a
don't
lot.
have to raise the taxes.
No, that's just.
I mean, that's not gonna be, that's not gonna hurt anybody.
It's not gonna be.
I know, but that's a start, it's a start.
I don't want to put a number on the top. I'm not going to, I don't think anybody here wants to do that. But I do want to give some facts. And number one, y'all can tell me if I'm wrong. In order to sustain the 7 schools we have this year, we would need to raise taxes 67 cents. Now, when you start multiplying that by $200,000 home, you're talking about a substantial amount of money. You're also talking about farmers that have, 200 acres, whatever. All that is calculated in, so understand that's going to be a massive hit for a lot of people. I'm not saying that's what the people want. All you got to do is come to the commission, stand up, and tell us you want to raise the taxes. That's a simple, yes or no way.
So they'll be cheered. But they don't give us a score.
Well,
Yeah, from the looks of it, our school funding is gone down every year.
let me explain that to you. When you look at those figures, and this is very hard for me to understand, so it's going to be hard for me to explain it to you. But a team brings in a certain amount of money each year.
Oh, yes.
It's 25,680 this year. So you multiply that out, and that's how you come up with. That's how you come up with your property tax value. So when you see those numbers going down, that doesn't mean the school budget was cut. What that means is the value of a penny actually went up that year. So a penny bringing in $20,000 at 85 cents is the same as a penny bringing in $24,000 at 68 cents. So it's just a little math term. But I don't want to steal y'all's thunder, but at the same time, I mean, Jake and I have had probably 20 conversations over the you want me to raise your taxes? But if that's what you want, then convince 5 other people and we'll do it. But understand, it's gonna be a massive tax. We'll have the second highest property tax rate in the state of Tennessee, behind Memphis, if we do a 67% tax increase. Well,
Here's something we should, shift all the way next to the Camp County line. Someone said something about moving to Camp County. Was that mentioned?
I think it was off to the east side.
Okay, is that,
But
I'm sure it's coming all the way down here. That's pretty business.
I wish I could wave my financial wand and make everything better, but I don't know how to do it unless we raise taxes. We've got 2 choices, and that's consolidation or building a new building. You probably have to, you would have to, you have to have a wheel tax, which we already have, and that was set to expire May 25th, 2025. But it could actually be paid off early. In 1975, that was off, and then the other 4 years after this building and for the additions in 1999. So that's the portion of the for me or the out.
Yeah, that was the portion.
What's the contingency plan? Because I'm coach guy and I'm working in construction and I'm around all this state of Tennessee. And here's the thing that people are not understanding. This is all from the first round of this virus causing a lot of this strain on our school systems and our finances. What about the second round? We don't know what's going to happen in the fall. These kids go back to school. What we do is we go into a 90-day shutdown. The whole state shut down, everybody shut down. We're going to live off these stimulus checks. I mean, this is the thing I'm looking at. We bail out right now, but what's going to save us 6 months down the road? That's what I'm getting at.
I wish I could answer that question. I can't. I don't know what to tell you as far as, I know, because it's mentioned, Randy's here, Brent's here, their money's here, and I'm here. I mean, we have to work with the school board. I think that's something that's been sort of lacking over the past 20 years. For whatever reason, it's become very contentious between the two. The school comes and asks for more money, doesn't really explain why. The county says no, and doesn't really explain why. So you have no versus no, and it really doesn't accomplish anything. Long term, we're gonna have to work with them, we're gonna have to figure out, are we gonna maintain system schools, or are we gonna try to build something where we put them all in free schools?
We don't know if we're getting ready to be able to start back to school. They can't go back to school. We're correct. I mean, the school said empty for months. And our teachers, basically were unemployed, right? All that.
I don't have anything to do with that. I'm going to say it right here, every school in the county.
It's roughly $852,000.
That's strictly the school. The building itself. Yeah, I think that's correct.
That's correct. It's about $850,000 to operate Short Mountain.
That's not the employees.
I think our biggest question here is why Short Mountain and your whole senior teacher thing, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
It does.
Because you can put teachers, you have those teachers, every non-senior teacher in the county right now doesn't technically have a job, correct? So,
It's not, it's, No. I'm on the way, I haven't short line, I live, I've been born and raised in this county. And each one of the schools has been bringing me a shirt, and if the Bears had brought me one, I was wearing it. Look proudly. The reason being is strictly, it's not a community thing. And you can't take that into consideration. It's not because it's Short Mountain. The reason is your geological location and the fact that you only have 3 tenured teachers at your school.
Which is sad because some of our junior teachers left us last year.
That's not our kids'
Peace
fault.
out.
It's not,
Hey, that's not our fault.
it's not, and I'm not blaming you, I'm glad you're here, I'm glad you're supporting your community, you need it. But I've been having this argument for about 3 years now. Pretty hard, you can ask them, they're all here. The commissioners that I have talked to and maybe with and plead with, I have been fighting for you for years. But I didn't know where you were, and all of these meetings have been on the internet, they've been on the web, I've been there pushing for you. But this is the first time you've shown up.
Well, the thing about Short Mountain is they'll be quiet until we're threatened. If we're threatened, we come out. Yeah. Yeah, we stay out in our little Short Mountain community and hide out from the world. Until they
Okay.
start threatening our children.
You got a gentleman in the back, we're gonna have to, go ahead, sir.
What's your name, sir? I'm just a two, I represent Fort Mountain. So I hope that I've been voiced for all, it's clear how I stand, hopefully it's not.
All right, I'm gonna take just a couple more, we're gonna move on.
Wait, y'all said there are more, there's another option that it would close Short Mountain. What is that option? And then I also had a thought, like, what if, can you not make Woodbury Grammar a middle school, and then maybe just have 2 or 3 of the other schools be elementary school? Is that an option?
I have drawn plans, I have considered, I have moved, I've been working at this for a long, long time. And Woodbury Grammar is more than capable of being a middle school. But to meet those DEP numbers, I can't do that with 7 schools. I've gotta have a centralized location to put all, and I don't wanna pick on a community, I've told you guys that, I would like to get them all when we did that, so we can move forward. we're one of the few counties, and some of you guys support where you are, and you like it, I'm proud you're here. I'm tickled pink that you're here and you're representing yourself, but the only way to get close to those BEP numbers is for us to be a 3-school county. Now, we can offer our children a lot more, and I know some of you don't feel that way, but education-wise, I feel like we can offer them a lot more, and we can get close to that BEP number. And not only that, when something like this happens, I'm not reliant on raising, sales tax or land tax or anything else. It's that. But we didn't do that years ago. 20 years ago, we spent a ton of money to add on to our current schools, because that's what the community felt like it needed. If we had built that school then, we wouldn't be here having this conversation now. But we are, and like I said before, I'm glad you're here.
Do they understand how the BEP funding works? You know, you get funded for like 25 kids for a class grade.
There's a limit to how many children can be in each classroom. That's state regulated, not just BEP.
But do they understand the BEP funding that each, you know, it's per kid, but you're only getting one teacher for every 25 kids, whereas in the smaller schools, you have smaller numbers in class range.
That's why we're 42 over.
But do they understand that?
I tried to explain it earlier. I don't know.
We also understand that our kids are more important. That adoption time for kids are, we're gonna lose a lot more kids. And you watch emergency schools together, the children from Short Mountain or whatever schools you close, that emergency schools, you'll see a drastic drop in the grade point averages.
You said there were 3 plans that y'all were looking at. If I'm incorrect,
Well,
maybe here's those plans and what it looks like.
okay. You wanna read those out, Mr. Curtis?
The options that are on the floor are basically, option A is including art, librarians, instructional coaches for around $605,000 approximately. Assistant principal around approximately $50,000. COVID-19 CARES Act would get about $75,000 from the federal government into this funding. Bonuses being the no LO, level of effectiveness performance would be $88,500. A nurse, we will look at utilizing some other funding from other locations for that, $20,000. Transportation, meaning one contract bus would be approximately $25,000 savings. And then instruction on nine positions from each school, basically 4 from the high school and 1 basically from every other school, with savings of $405,000. That would equal a total savings of $1,268,500 in option A. That would take us down to that point.
Now, I don't know that that particular option will go through the comptroller's office and pass the test. It's gonna be close. It may pass, it may not. And if it doesn't pass, we'll just have to remove more employees.
Option B is the same thing, art librarians, instructional coaches, a savings of $605,000. Assistant principal, $50,000. COVID-19 Act, CARES Act, again, $75,000. Bonuses, $88,500. Nurse, $20,000. Transportation dealers in 1 contract bus at $25,000. And then if Short Mountain were to be closed for any of the other schools, for savings of $687,500 would be the approximate amount if you're closing that school, which would mean a savings of $1,551,000 in option B. Option C, Mr. Chairman, if you want.
Go ahead.
Option C is what I call Armageddon. When you do, if you were to do that, closing a school and then doing all the other cuts in option A, for total savings of $1,956,000 would be the same thing. And I would not be for option C. I would not be for any of these options. And that aspect. I was asked to prepare these options, knowing that we were in a shortfall of $1.1 million. And preparing these, you know, I'm not for doing any of these because of lives are affected. But we've got the closing of these or taking of these figures of any of these. You know, I look back at it, living at Short Mountain, and also my late wife started her teaching career at Short Mountain. So it means a lot to me. Those 9 positions could involve combining classes, just as it is. That's correct. Because what happens, the brunt of those classes that are done, if you look at what the lower end of that is, or if you're looking at your, what you have at your maximum class size, from K through 3 can be up to 25 according to the state, with an average of 20. The same thing 4th through 6th grade is 25 average and maximum class size of 30. 7th through 12th grade is maximum class size, average class size of 30 and maximum class size of 35. Ladies and gentlemen, during my early part of my career, I taught splits. I had 47 my first year teaching at Westside. I had 54 in one classroom. And I survived. I got my baptism of fire. But I stayed. Later on, I had multiple 40s. Having 6th and 7th grade, half the 7th grade, and all the 6th grade. I taught that for a number of years. So I know what splits are. Don't like them. I rejoiced when I just taught 6th grade. And it was maybe we eliminated that in the mid-90s. And so these are not good options. None of them are good options. But when you're staring $1 million in the face, you gotta do what you gotta do. And splits are, you cannot have a split, but you can have 2 grades combined, 2 total grades combined in Tennessee. And like I say, I'm not for any, don't like any of this. Don't like all of it at all. But, you know, and I taught at the high school, I've had 35 in my U.S. government classes at Kennesaw County High School, multiple times. In doing that, we had some big numbers coming through. So know what they are and know what the hard work that teachers would do in these situations regarding class sizes. So been there, done that. Don't want to go back, but when you're looking at, like I say, when you've got a bare minimum, not the bare minimum, continually, it forces us board into a situation. We need a good history lesson in regard to that. But none of it looks good. None of it is ideal. None of it is. So going back to what Dylan said there, definitely about looking at long term. You got to. You got to look at long term. And that's where the county commission does something to do that.
What are the logistics of a school closure? If Short Mountain is closed, what happens to those students? Is there a school that's big enough to house these students, and is it sustainable for the growth that we experience? Because Short Mountain had 21 kindergartens last year. It will split 21 first graders next year.
Well, I had drawn out some long-term plans, and we're gonna have to wrap this up and move on. I'm gonna give the rest of the commissioners and county executive a chance to talk in just a second. What I had planned on doing, if we sustain 7 schools, if we can figure out a way to do that, is Woodland is going to experience huge growth because there's been a lot of houses built out there. And I can rezone east side and move it toward Woodland to help with that problem, because Woodland will be maxed out. But if that occurs, if closing Short Mountain were to occur, and I move those kids to east side, then I no longer have that option. And if that school becomes too big to handle, we're gonna have to build a school. You understand? We would absolutely have to. You're sitting in what I propose to be the middle school.
Take K through 4, 6 grammar schools, have 5th through 8th right here, coronavirus and all that stuff, they're old enough to know, kind of how the social distance where you take their pills, they're not going to know that, so much. And then they're gonna go to care right over to the hospital.
I just think the bottom line is the only resolve here is permanent enforcement. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And then there's other things that are out of our control, like the county, talking about logistics, the way Kenny County is. We don't have a waterway, we don't have railroad, we don't have anything. There's definitely I'm not going to blame here, so, unfortunately, the way we're set up here, we're landlocked, so unfortunately, the landowners probably have taxes. With that tax, that's what it is. And I know a lot of us understand how to provide it. That's what we all need to do.
Maybe it's high time that Cannon County does allow some to open in this county. They have to went crazy with the road over there. I'm not proposing, we open up a bunch of stuff here that's gonna shut down our small businesses. But there has got to be more that we can offer in this county that can raise revenue.
I didn't say that.
But nobody wants that.
I just wanna know, all those options include cutting the arts inclusion, for clarification.
They do, except for the high school.
That's all our programs, in the VEP. Will we still get that funding for the VEP if you cut the RN program?
That's correct. The BEP is a formula, it's not a spending plan.
Oh,
That's
I know, that's
You
what
know
we're.
what I'm saying?
I know, that's.
And that's what everybody needs to understand. BEP is just that, a basic program that is basically a suggestion, not
That's
a.
only clarification, thanks.
All right, are there any commissioners who would like to say anything? Mr. Gannon, you've been in the seat before, Mr. Bush, they are.
Trust me, I got a voice. I am on 6 or my last of 6 kids. I have them from 38 all the way down to 12. I have been doing this for years. Like that gentleman over there, I've only been here for a couple of years. We moved out of Murfreesboro and out of Rutherford County schools because of the big classes and the way things were treated there. I had kids who grew up in a school district in Texas, and what a football program was like. You ever seen that story of the great big old huge stadium that was built for the high school? That's where my kids went. Not all my kids played football. I had ones that took art. All of that is important. That is like asking somebody to choose which one of your kids you want to succeed. The one who plays sports or the one who does art. Now, you're gonna take my school that I put my child in, that I worked to put my child in because I wanted him out of Rutherford County, where they treated me like I was some redheaded stepchild because I didn't fall into their ideas of what I need to do. I came out here because of the community and the way it reacts with kids. Kids are not coddled. They're not pansies to. They're taught how to be respectful, grown adults, which is what our job is as parents. Your job is to educate our children. I will help you any way I can. What I found out from COVID, I am not a teacher. I am not. I don't want to teach. Not my job. Not my job. But you're talking about taking one school and putting it either in one other school or splitting it between 2. So now you have 2 schools that their classes are large and everybody else gets to keep everything they've already got. And we're supposed to lose it.
I still think the question will answer, can Eastside, if that's the plan, can Eastside hold the students in Short Mountain?
Guys, once again, this is an option, and I'll be honest with you when I tell you this, I don't think that this particular option is gonna pass, judging from what I've heard here tonight before. But if something like that were to occur, you have two schools that have smaller amounts of children, and Aldertown and Eastside can more than handle that. But now I want to reiterate to you 100%, this is an absolute fact. If we do find a way to keep all schools open this year, we will be having this conversation next year.
I understand that, if you want us to entertain the idea of closing the school, then there needs to be a plan of action, not just.
Yeah, everybody's saying around the question.
Like, if you want us to entertain that idea, there needs to be.
I would say the ones closest to Allentown would go to Allentown, and the ones closest to Eastside would go to Eastside.
So y'all don't even have a plan yet.
Well, this is just an option that we're talking about.
It sounds like a real, if it's only option, you know,
I don't think this option is gonna fly. So why would I spend a lot of time digging into it? Do you think it's gonna fly? That's correct.
Yeah, we're gonna drive our buses, would Barry go to Auburn School, or we're gonna go down to Shoot
Guys.
We got going,
Do, any commissioners, county executive, any commissioners have any comments about the thing?
Years ago, I sat in the same position these gentlemen are sitting in. We went through, yes, we made people mad. We cut stuff. We cut stuff we didn't want to cut, but we had to. I don't think our options got down to the point where they're at now. But kind of sitting here thinking about it, just remember, yeah, I know the property tax of the 68.5 cents. At that time, I had 85 cents. But it equaled to the same amount as this 68.5 cents 10 years ago. Pretty much, I think it stayed at that point. And I know even in my household and in your household, things cost more, rent goes up, house payments, all of it. But it has stayed right at that 68.5 cents that they're at now for 10 years. Again, we had to make some serious cuts. I don't remember what we did cut because it's 10 years ago, but you've got to look at kind of the whole picture, and I know all of you are. And I appreciate you coming out, letting these folks and myself and the commissioners here know how you feel. But it's going to be, all I know to say, a gut-wrenching thing for these folks. Whichever way they choose to go. Say we did do a middle school. That's a whole different scenario. They have to prepare for the commission, and then that's where, like Mr. Denford said, commission and school board members will have to work together. And how many new seats will you have after the election? 3? There's 3 people that's going to have to catch up. And it's not going to be fun for them. But I appreciate you coming out. We all, as commissioners, have heard what you're saying. But 67 cent increase for schools, that's $1.7 million. It would go to the schools. That would just balance your budget, right?
It would be a little more than that.
But That's something to think about too. Keep letting these guys know what you feel, what you think, how you feel. I mean, they're looking at it from all aspects. But, you know, if you need me, you can call me. I don't, or the commissioners do not deal with anything for the schools except voting on what we get, or what the state mandates that we get. And that's kind of been the norm now for years. The MOE, the maintenance of effort. And I can't let the microphone go without saying something to the prettiest woman in the room. Miss Linda, how are you? Okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Brandon, you want to say something?
They do work, school board has worked a lot, out there, the budget meeting, they're not taking, Mr. Curtis, till about 10 o'clock, trying to figure this thing out and hash it out and see what all the options are, you know, for our students. And they're the ones that are, the ones that pay the price. So, I give them credit. It's, Mr. Curtis has gone through this budget, and Dave will know 30 times. I call him Mr. Curtis in the mornings, and he's reading it. I talk to him in the afternoon, we're still going over another one. So, hang in there. We're gonna do the best we can for our students, and thank y'all for being here.
All right, guys. Would y'all like to talk about the options tonight? Or you want to go straight on and load on Thursday night?
I mean, I do have a couple questions about the options, because I've not had a chance to, look at it in detail. So the question was asked earlier, and I'm glad that somebody asked the question, is, you know, is all the burden being put on one school, or is somebody else taking it? So that's what I've done. I know some of that's been done already, but I saw a few other things, that I wanted to go through, and this is taking it from everybody and every section in the budget and keeping Short Mountain open. So I guess that would be option one, but I worked from the budget that we sent over to the commission.
That was 75 cents.
75 cents. But still working with the 68.5 cents. I guess let me just go through this and answer most of it. Do we still have the 4 growth positions built into the budget?
Yes.
Okay. So we're building in 4, but saying we're going to cut to 9. I'm lost on that.
Well, when you do growth position, you gotta have a growth position available there just in case there's a, you look at the numbers, there are some that could fluctuate, and if you don't put anything in, then you're going to have some difficulties there that you gotta have some room there for anticipated growth if that does occur. If that doesn't occur, then you have to go back and pull from something else to add those growth positions.
Okay. And I hear that, but with the situation that we're in, I mean, we've got 9 to work with, and there could be potential growth positions.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Also, we can cut that. That would be something that we could cut. So you're looking at about $45,000 to $50,000 per growth position that you would do, but you run that risk if you don't do it.
And I know this is not going to be popular for the teachers, but, you know, and one thing I have said to several of the teachers that have talked for me is prepare for maximum class sizes. I mean, the days of 8 and 9 and 10, which the numbers are up at our small schools, I was looking at that. So, you know, and you're right, we've always put in for growth position, but I mean, maybe this is the year that we don't. And I mean, I would kind of like to see those numbers. So we had some employees that recently retired. Has that salary adjustment been made?
Those have been made, for those for every retirement, you would take that from whatever they had, and that savings that would be done to a position that is a DS1, basically, is what you're trying to do.
Okay.
And that has been adjusted.
Okay, so, and that's what I do, so BS1, okay. If I understood the governor right, when he presented his budget, he is not putting in a 2 or 3% raise.
Well, we presented 4%, which would, maximum salary would have been there nearly $40,000. After COVID hit, they quickly went down from 4% to 2%. And then recently, the state legislature then did put down none. So, but Mary Anderson, who, you know, is the guru of the state, she suggested we not put anything in there anyway, except for the step increases. And so the only thing in here in this budget would be the step increases. I think Doug is listening to online, so we have to go and do this. He can unmic and give us more information.
I hate this, so any families here, I apologize. The custodian that we lost at the high school due to unfortunate situation, was that salary been deducted?
That position has not been adjusted, but it could be going to, and I don't shortchange Mr. Nichols, but we could make it look at that maybe at a halftime position.
That doesn't fall under the regular instruction category, right?
Correct, that's under the custodians of that line.
And then, what if we just went to, and I believe you answered this, I've talked to one of the principals, I haven't talked to the other, but the other assistant principal, if we just went to one.
That person would be shared among the rest of the 3 for evaluation and everything, but that position, what your governor will tell you, that position has been invaluable. If we go, we're looking at cutting at halftime, our guidance counselor to halftime. Here we're doing grammar at halftime at the high school. Due to an opening that is now opened up at the high school, you go to halftime there, halftime here. You could do that, but that means more stress on this school. And this school principals will tell you, our principal and assistant will tell you that this school is in desperate need of making sure that assistant principals here of doing that. And Mr. Josh has done incredible work here, and Woodbury Grammar is on the move, and they are turning this school around. And we desperately need that, but he could be utilized better than the other 2 schools. Yes, sir.
And I hear that, and I've heard all great things. And let me go back and say, I'm trying to keep Short Mountain open and put art and library, and keep art and library still in our schools. And I'm sure that's going to be a pain for you Woodbury folks that I talk to, but if you remember, I didn't make any promises. I just said, bear with us, we're still early on. Okay, so looking at transportation, one of the options is, are we eliminating a bus route?
That is correct, Ms. Black.
We're eliminating the contracted driver's bus.
We are eliminating contract.
That's what's in there, that's the proposal.
Okay. Has that contracted driver already been spoken to?
Yes.
Okay. Are we gonna hear from them at some point, or?
Maybe,
It's volunteer.
he's okay with it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That's what would be in us.
Okay. All right, this is a point of contention, but we did this a while back. The sports trips, are we paying that? It looks like we're paying that out of GP.
District Park has asked us early on to take, each department to take 25% out of their budget line item. That's part of helping with the budget situation, and that was something that I took out. So the, sports will have to start paying for their nutrition.
Okay, so that is there, and soft message has been put out there to our coaches for seem to be, okay.
Once you approve the budget, once the budget is approved, and we have to tell the minor sports, that we put the minor sports into a, and I say minor sports, like every sports major. Don't give me, I'm a baseball guy, don't trust me. But I'm just saying, any other of those minor sports, strictly volleyball, softball, soccer, those kind of sports will have to work on aiding the transportation. We don't like it, I don't like it, but we have to.
Okay. And forgive me, I think I've asked this before, but with the contracted drivers, is there a 3-year agreement with those drivers? It's annual. Okay. And then, what about our ESP program? We contribute 20,000 to that, is that right? When we were, what was the reason that we stopped charging for that? Because I think when we started, we were charging $10.
We originally started, we were charging based on the scale, so they could pay up to $50. That was something that the grant really grounded on, us being able to do that. We still charge the $10. We have to, you guys have to do like a match, you have to do a match to grant, so that part of that 20,000 is match.
Okay, so just to clarify, so part of the grant stipulation is that we as a board have to contribute a certain amount. Okay.
We can go back to charging here and but that really, we cannot do that on the 21st century grant.
Right, that's a separate one.
Yes, it's illegal. But the police grant, we could, but then you're gonna have certain kids are charging and certain kids are not, and so that gets into the right.
All right, so looking at capital outlay, we've done a lot of things. I can't think of a project that we talked about, Curtis. I guess other than HVAC, we all need to prepare for that. We've kept that kind of where it's been. Could we cut that some more, maybe to 250,000?
Well, if you look at that, if you look at the line item, numbers board, if you look at capital outlay, you see what we spent out in 2018, 2019. The first thing we can look at is $243,292 in 18/19. So you could go into that, but that, again, you're running a risk, just like you would with the pushers. You're running a risk with that. So you have older infrastructure. One thing that could help us certainly is the train program. The EESI could help us with that. Should the county commission adopt the EESI program, it's brought to them. We're concentrating on the high school and on Woodbury Grammar more than the others, maybe because of energy savings and what we have here. So I would certainly, look at that and see about reducing that further. But I would not want to go down too deep into that. But however, we can. It's a risk.
And I'm here again, trust me. We've been safe in doing that, but do we have any projects that we want to do as it is right now, as far as our buildings? Other than
everything's been pretty well put on hold because of budget constraints. And looking at long-term projects, we kept the $20,000 in there because of the architect fees. Because I would like to keep that, especially if we start looking at doing things consolidation wise, or a project would occur, we can go ahead and pay the architect if we have to, if something happens. we can do so.
Why do we have free technology? When I was in school, we didn't have a whole lot of tech at all, and we like to just find. I don't understand how long we have free technology.
The world is changing a little bit, all involves around technology.
If I understood the part right, and I appreciate the presentation, by the way, did I understand it that it's somewhat logistically possible for the two of you to rotate to our elementary schools?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and Ms. Harbaugh to go into a classroom?
Yes.
Okay.
You said you did have enforcement.
Yes, I have an elementary endorsement.
Okay, so,
Oh, just on a side note, Miss, Wilma said that, you know, she could do that for a year and then she would be retired. So that would help a little bit.
well, we're certainly not pushing anybody out, but I mean, that would keep art in our schools. I mean, so.
If we want to do that,
So just roughly looking at these areas, and Ms. Kurtz, I hear what you're saying on the growth position, but I think we're at a point where we're gonna have to look at the combined classes at all of our schools, not just one. But roughly, this is gonna help that number to the tune of about 800,000. And that would keep art, keep library, keep short round open. And we don't have our final numbers in from June, but in looking back at our budgets, going back to actually the end of 2013, we have cut it real close, but we have not dipped into reserves like we were predicting to do. And I mean, I know we can't predict it, but we're real close to the end of June, so I mean, I think if we looked at a budget with that, with these cuts from these other areas, and then we get our June numbers in, then we're not looking at 1.6 million, which is anxiety didn't say it. But that means everybody steps up, get rid of the idea of small classrooms. Education is going to look different in Cannon County from here on out, whether it's COVID-19 or what. We're in a budget crisis and numbers are up at all of our schools. And we've got stellar teachers at our schools, so if you're level 4 and 5, don't tell me you can't teach 23 kids. You can do it. If you're level 3, 4, and 5, you can do it. You know, we've got teachers in place, and I have full confidence that they can. Because they'll have the support of the aides. We're keeping all of those, and you know, we're going to share this as a principal. I've heard nothing but great things, and you know, that is taking a huge burden off of my principals. So again, it was kind of the 9th hour that I was working on this, and I know you and Douglas were working on getting this printing stuff, but I just want to throw that out there, food for thought. I mean, it's still not, you know, it's not stopping the bleeding completely, but it doesn't put us in a situation to where we have to cut as much as we have to cut. Yes. I do.
Can I ask you a question, Nate?
Sure.
How do you handle the increases in the teacher salaries next year?
That's a good question. I think tonight has been productive in that we can encourage everybody to shop local, and our commissioners are here and have heard. And we've got we're close to getting at least 6 commissioners to realize that we need some more money, and we've got community members saying they're okay as long as it's going for school. So, that would take care of part of that.
Allow more revenue from it. You know, I'm all for keeping the small town aspect alive, but we can allow a little bit something. But we can't stay like this forever. And we're gonna have, instead of allowing growth, we're just gonna put some schools here and there and play with one town. But eventually, once the schools are closed, and you see that revenue's still not going up, we're still not able to fund the 3 schools y'all talk about possibly having in the future. Eventually, Woodbury itself is going to have to grow. Cannon County is going to have to grow. Otherwise, we risk being taken over by Murfreesboro or DeKalb County. Eventually, all of our county will be shopping and going to other places. The only positive thing that's happened, in my experience, since I've been alive, was the Short Mountain Distillery. And Woodbury fought that. But, I mean, we got a lot of stuff that goes on over there. I know all those close by, you know, they have their music festivals. I know that's got to bring a pretty good amount of revenue into the county. You know, I'm not saying let's open up a bunch of big businesses. Maybe we need something to bring in a little more tourism. You know, start playing on our history a little more. Maybe a museum or something. Bring in some art clubs. There's gotta be something we can do in this county that's gonna drum up some more revenue.
Anybody else have any ideas on ways we can cut?
Do we have a bus in this?
We have, I think we have the bus that today, we're asking the county commission to pay the other money, part of the other.
Yeah, what we would like to do regarding the questions regarding the bus, in FY 21, the bus is not in this budget.
It's not.
It is not in this budget. However, commissioners are here tonight, and we're not putting the bus in this year's budget, because we try to do that every year. However, I will tell you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board, that the county will be receiving CARES Act money, and I have requested, we had a bus that was involved in an accident that was totaled. Fortunately, no kids were on that bus, praise the Lord for that. But that bus is gonna have to be, we put another 30,000 into that, and with the insurance settlement, that will get that bus paid for. And then, gentlemen, after that, if we could get another 90,000 for the FY 21 bus, we're going to go ahead and buy the buses in this year's budget. But one thing that I would hope that the commission would definitely consider is part of the CARES Act grant of money that we're getting from the CARES Act of doing an addition for the FY, $90,000 for the FY 21 bus. That's what I'm not begging yet, but I'm close. So we're getting there. So no less in this budget from the board.
And to answer their question, I did not figure a bus in. I'm going with Lisa's recommendation. I don't want to be buying 5 and 6 in a year, but that's what we're going with. And also no instructional coaches. But I believe I heard you right that message started being conveyed. They're gone from August.
Actually, July 1.
Spoke with Douglas today about that matter, and he told me, I forgot which county, but he said there was a county close by that hadn't bought textbooks since 2009. And that's a $300,000 savings, but do you want to risk?
I told the principal of county today, and that was one of the things that they had looked at and done. We can lie that it wasn't, it worked. That's what he said, the way he said it worked.
That, I mean, it's $300,000, and looking at the budget, it is possible to not do that, but now that's on your, that's option B on your consent agenda. So you guys,
Well, option B on the consent agenda is to approve that particular textbook. It's not to approve the purchase of that textbook. That's in your budget.
And from what I understand is that there's an online version of that.
Well, you're looking at, I would certainly, as chairman and this board, I would look at principals and what principals evaluation would be about. And ELA, certainly ELA teachers, this is English language arts is what's up for adoption now. English language arts and reading. And that is very, very essential in having the best quality text we could possibly get for our students. I don't want to skimp. And I don't use that, but I mean, but if we're in budget crisis, do we buy books or do we not? And those, you know, what you would approve on Thursday night is Pearson is doing what those recommendations were in your packet. So principals may want to speak about that. We look at textbooks. I would want to hear what principals and ELA teachers would want to say about that. So the principals, you're hearing this right now in regard to that, I would get with my ELA folks and get with that about in regard to those textbooks. Could we continue on with what we're doing with some of the good things that we're doing? Absolutely, yes. But there again, I don't want to be behind eight ball. The state is, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, the state is full. The early literacy program and stuff, Mr. Morris, we can talk about that more. The state is pulling that funding even as we speak. For that, the foundational program that was mentioned and all of that is pretty well been put on hold because of COVID.
anybody else got any ideas about how we can save anything?
One thing, I noticed, which, I'm sorry, my mic's not working. I don't claim to know it all, I definitely don't, and that's the reason why we're all here, all sort of one another and learning, as we all learn every day. And so I'm aware of the PCA code that was cited, about the arts, about how they shall include art and music. But of course, I'm for keeping our program. And so I think, what we're proposing, we need to consider what's lawful too. Which I know you ladies have already devised a plan to salvage our program. I think it's an excellent idea. We don't hear that, we do. But at the same time, I wanna do what's lawful also. So I feel like we need to look into this and see how that impacts our possible choices. This is important, you know. I mean, although I'm personally for the program, I also want to do what's lawful. So we need to consider that. So we need to go over that. And I will go over that myself.
All right, Mr. Curtis, director's comments.
I think the audience is through with my comments, Mr. Chairman, and I want to say appreciate the parents for Short Mountain has a lot of heart. I have a lot of special place in my heart for Short Mountain. Being there, being part of that community for 10 years, and then also my wife starting her career at Short Mountain. She Memphis Notes is gone, but she actually subbed for Kathy Notes and how she got started. And there's the board, so I have a great heart and a great place in my heart for Short Mountain. And let me just tell you this, this is not easy, folks. If you think it is, you need to talk to the PPI commissioners and the school board members and teachers and principals. But let me just tell you this. It takes all of us working together. And that's the beauty that I think I take out of this tonight. It takes all of us, every single one of us working together to get this done. And I appreciate the hard work that our staff does. Employee months is kind of got on hold because of COVID again, but we've got incredible people doing incredible things in Canton. And I'm just saying thank you. I want to thank you for doing that. We have incredible employees, incredible teachers, incredible individuals that work really hard every day, principals, supervisors, all of us, educators working together. So thank you, Mr.
I appreciate everybody coming out, stating their opinions. We could still got some major hard choices to make. I think most of you have my phone number by now. And I I appreciate you calling me, that's what I'm supposed to do, and if I don't get back in contact with you, I will. I promise you that, I've tried. Like I said before, we have worked really hard to try to keep everything the way it is. And it appears to me like that's what we're gonna continue to try to do. But we've gotta have a solution for the long term, guys. Being as honest with you as I can, Cannon County cannot keep doing this very much longer, we just can't without another source of revenue. Thank you.
Corey, I just want to tell you, I'm not trying to single you out, but, I want to speak to you, the rest of the division. I know there's a few of you that are not trying to cut us some big gaps, so realize I'm not trying to do that, I'm not trying to bash it against y'all. I know, like I said, as long as we can talk with one another, we can agree, disagree, and that's fine. I know y'all are, so thanks. I appreciate that.
Okay, we're gonna try to have a special call meeting on June 25th, 2020 to consider budget amendments and the purchase of a bus and mowing bids.
Mr. Chairman, the budget, if I could, the budget amendments on this for that, if I could, the budget amendments for the special call meeting is for the FY20 budget. We will have a bunch of budget amendments that will take over the county commission Coryell meeting the 29th, so we get this done on that Thursday, that Tuesday, the following Tuesday, we'll have our budget amendments for you in order. And we'll have, like the rest of them, I don't know how many we'll have. Rather much. So this is for FY20 budget, not FY21, FY20 budget. And then I'd like to add to approve the food service budget. You see, has got her numbers now. So, I'd like to add on that special call meeting, Mr. Chairman, to do the budget, FY21 budget amendments. And then bus purchase, mowing bids, and the food service, approve the food service budget is what I'd like.
Well, according to some of the parents at Short Mountain, we saved a lot of money right there.
How much is spent on mowing?
You know, the contract, how much it was?
It's 2,000 a moment. Sometimes you have to do 2 weeks, you know, instead of every, you know, once a month or whatever, it's gonna be every other week.
We not talk about the legalities of having individual mowers. Is there something to that, or is it?
There is some state legislation in regard to that, about liability. These two folks, when I first started the West Side in 1986, guess who helped them? I had help mow. I was a big teacher. I had help mow that year, so I understand, been there, done that.
We're willing to entertain that also. If it's legal for us to.
If I could, Mr. Smith, sometimes you know the yard in your career.
Hey, you do the waiting, I would mow.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it. Thanks.